Our social media algorithms are built to feed us more of what we want to see. And I've observed that, at least on TikTok, if I watch just one short to the end, oftentimes everything on my feed after that will be that topic. For example, if I watch one figure skating video to the very end, I'll get 6 of them after that. And unfortunately, this means that it is very easy to politically radicalize people on social media. We see more and more of what we already agree with, and we get deeper and deeper entrenched into an echo chamber. And after a while of only hearing what we agree with, any sort of opposition or dissent to what we believe is considered radical to us, because it's I've never heard anyone say this. Everyone always agrees with me, so you must be completely fringe for disagreeing with me on this. And recently, something very concerning happened. I got a QAnon conspiracy on my For You page. This was a video that seemed like a gossip TikTok, which I hate gossip TikToks, but sometimes if one shows up on my page, I'll watch it and just take it with a grain of salt. So this one was claiming that Tom Hanks is a PDF file. And it really concerned me, and I was like, oh my god, Tom Hanks, really? He seems like a good guy. Obviously I don't know him, but he genuinely seems like one of the good guys in Hollywood. So I scrolled past it, did my own thing. 10 minutes later, my husband comes in the room, and I tell him, do you know that there are some serious allegations against Tom Hanks? And my husband goes, serious allegations? What are you talking about? And I'm like, some people accused him of doing this, and then they completely vanished from the internet. If you look up their names, they're not there anymore. And he was like, what? And we looked it up, and it's a QAnon conspiracy. And I thought that was so concerning, because if people don't check the actual facts of the situation, they could so easily fall down a pipeline where now you're going to get more QAnon conspiracies on your page, one after another after another. And if you just take them at face value, you're going to get completely radicalized. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the steps that I take to try to make sure that I don't get radicalized into some sort of pipeline, and hopefully you can use these tips to do the same. I can tell you right now, the last point is the most important, and is one that you're probably not going to like. So before I go into exactly the steps I took, I need to explain the psychological phenomenon that makes human beings so easy to radicalize. Human beings have a very strong need to have their beliefs validated. When you meet someone who shares the same beliefs as you, you're basically hearing, I'm a good person, I'm right, I'm worthy. Once you understand how deep this need is, you start to also understand why people are drawn to people who share the same beliefs as them. For the most part, there's nothing wrong with having relationships with people who share the same values and beliefs as you, but it does become an issue if that's all that you ever hear. And when we find a group of people who validate all of our beliefs, that becomes an in-group identity, and then you form disdain for anyone who's not a part of that group, for the out-group as it were. Often to the point of dehumanization, where you start to think that the out-group is terrible, immoral people. You project onto them, you accuse them of doing exactly the things that you and your group do. You've stopped having conversations with them because you think they're just that far beyond redemption. The feeling of self-righteousness is almost like the feeling of taking a hit of a drug. It's incredibly addictive and rewarding. We want more and more of it. We start to crave the self-righteousness. We start to crave being validated for our beliefs. And like with all addictions, we escalate, willing to sacrifice more and more for that rewarding feeling, even though we need more and more of it for that same hit. So given all of this, how do you avoid getting radicalized? Well, here are the things that I do. Number one, I fact check everything, including context. Like with the Tom Hanks conspiracy. Yeah, maybe for like 5-10 minutes I believed it, but then I went into let me tell someone about this. Let me hear sort of their ideas bouncing off of this, and then let me also check if this is true. Misinformation doesn't always look like misinformation. Sometimes it looks like, somebody that's just like a gossip TikToker. Sometimes it looks like a politician you would think wouldn't spread misinformation saying something on live television. Sometimes it looks like somebody in a white coat who's saying they're a doctor saying something incorrect. You've got to actually check things. And it's also really important to check context. Whenever I see a headline or a trimmed clip that tries to frame someone as holding a very fringe belief or saying something really offensive, I go look at the context. Sometimes I just get this feeling that's like, wow, this person must be horrible for what they said. And then I think most people I know are not that horrible. Is it possible that this is being twisted somewhat to make that person seem demonic? 9 out of 10 times, that person is not actually as fringe or radical as what they're being described as. The media often distorts people's words with no repercussions. And often once you actually check the context, what that person said is actually much more reasonable than what they're being portrayed as saying. So I check everything, including context. Number 2, I listen to a variety of perspectives, including those that I disagree with. This accomplishes a couple of things. Firstly, it's going to help you understand the types of beliefs that people hold all across the political spectrum so that you can identify when someone's coming from a particular lens and a particular bias. Like if you learn that something is a common conservative or liberal talking point, then you hear someone using that talking point, you can sort of guess that maybe they come from that particular lens. Of course, always check before assuming. Don't just make an assumption and run with it. Actually check that your assumption is correct, but it gives you clues that help you understand what lens a person might be coming from so that you know what biases they might hold. Listening to a number of different perspectives also helps you learn to think for yourself instead of only being exposed to one way of thinking. If everything you hear is an echo chamber, you're probably not ever going to stray from what the in-group thinks about any given topic. But if you hear a variety of perspectives, you're more likely to start to ask yourself, okay, well, what do I think about this specific topic? You're thinking less in terms of in-group tribalism and more in terms of critical thinking. I'm always so wary of people whose beliefs I can 100% predict because they never deviate from the group with which they identify. I want to be around people whose beliefs I can't really predict, who I never know, is this person going to think this or are they going to think that about a particular topic, because they're not just blindly believing what their in-group told them to believe. They're actually thinking for themselves. Number 3, I check a source's bias. Not all sources are equal. There's no such thing as an entirely unbiased source or person. But some sources definitely do a better job than others of keeping their bias from muddying the truth. Like when I see that something is written by the New York Post, I already know they've published some shady articles, they have a pretty strong right-leaning bias, so I'm much less likely to trust them than the New York Times, for example. Checking a source's bias tells you when to take a piece of information with a grain of salt. It's not an automatic rejection of what that source is trying to say, but it does sometimes tell you to just pump the brakes on drawing any sort of strong conclusion, or just running with that theory before more information becomes available. Number 4, I try to retrain my algorithm when I find that it's gone too far into one direction. The next time something radicalizing or just something political shows up on your page, and let's say you're tired of just constant politics, quickly scroll away. When you spend less time on it, when you don't comment on it, when you don't engage with it, it signals to your algorithm that you're not interested in that type of content. Or even depending on the social media form, sometimes you can click not interested or show me less of this, or even block certain creators. And at the same time, watch less polarizing content more. Watch that figure skating video to the end, or that cat compilation, so that this pipeline or whatever it is doesn't start to absorb your entire life. Now, obviously politics are important to stay informed on, and political discussions do impact our everyday lives. But a lot of people are letting politics cloud everything else in their life, and letting politics create distress from them where it honestly doesn't need to. If your mental anguish could be resolved by simply closing your phone, you are creating self-inflicted suffering. You are battling an invisible, made-up demon. Number 5, I'm aware of the way my emotions try to get manipulated and weaponized. I'm very mindful of when a source of information is trying to induce rage or pride or any other sort of powerful, particularly painful emotions tend to be the easiest with which to manipulate people. And this requires firstly checking in with your emotions when you feel something because of something you're seeing online, and then taking it a step further and going, okay, why am I feeling this way? Is it possible that something about this headline or this article is trying to make me feel that? Maybe is fear-mongering? When you can make the general population feel a certain way without questioning it, you make them very malleable. You make their behavior very easy to control. Because, for example, if somebody is afraid of immigrants, they might go out and start protesting immigration when they hear about one immigrant committing a crime against someone. So anytime you feel a powerful emotion because of a piece of news or something political that you see online, pause, check in with your emotions, How are you feeling? Why are you feeling that way? Is there anything that this source of information might have to gain from you feeling that way? Be mindful that they might be trying to manipulate you. Number 6, I have conversations with people I disagree with. And like I said, we all want to be validated in our beliefs. Obviously, it is so much more fun to have conversations with people we 100% agree with. It's uncomfortable. It makes us feel like, ooh, I'm not entirely being validated to have conversations with people who disagree with us. But it's important. Currently, a lot of people over on Book Talk are unfollowing each other because of differences of opinion related to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Believe me, I understand the righteous rage you feel when you see someone participating in what you consider to be immoral or despicable behavior. But creating further divide is not the solution. Let me ask you this. What do you think will happen if the two main political parties in the United States continue to get further and further alienated from each other? Don't you think at some point it's going to come to a violent head if both sides dehumanize and demonize the other? And also, how on earth do you expect to win an election if your reaction every time somebody disagrees with you is to alienate them and push them further to the other side? You want to know what I think? I think if you actually wanted to enact change, you would have conversations with people you disagree with. You would figure out the best, most persuasive way to make your argument, and you would have conversations with the people who you think are in need of convincing. I'm starting to think a lot of these people don't actually care about change. They just want to feel superior. They just want that hit of self-righteousness. They don't care if they alienate people further to the other side. They don't actually value the agenda of the group they're belonging to. They just want that quick catharsis. By cutting off or blocking anyone who disagrees with us on social media, we are deepening those echo chambers. I am genuinely concerned for the United States. The political polarization is one of the reasons why I left. I do not want you guys to go down the path it seems you're going down. Please have more conversations with each other. Please stop dehumanizing each other. Number 7, I try to refrain from just parroting what I heard somebody else saying in a comment section. Every comment section is just the same tired phrases. It's not even that I always disagree with the sentiment of what people are saying, it's that I hate seeing people regurgitate the exact same things that they heard from other people. I think people genuinely delude themselves into thinking that it's their original idea. Thought contagion becomes insidious. It sneaks up on you. You see a comment that resonates with you, you absorb it as your own, you repeat it to someone else, and you completely forget where you got it from. You have to remember where you heard certain ideas from, and you have to think for yourself. And number 8, this is the one I told you guys you probably wouldn't like. Get off the internet. Foreign governments try to radicalize nations through social media. It is the modern type of warfare. Social media can be super useful in some ways. I mean, look what I do for a living. I think social media is a great way to inform yourself, to learn new skills, to get better at something, to stay connected with people, to find a sense of community, but it also has a dark side. And if you feel like your algorithm is taking a turn, or you notice yourself starting to get very hateful and self-righteous, it is time to turn off the phone. Do something else. Do something with real life people. Because also, you never know how many of the people that you are seeing online or interacting with aren't real. Look up the dead internet theory. You never know if all these radical things that you're seeing online are truly representative of the general population, or if they are maybe bots, or maybe your algorithm only showing you certain types of comments instead of others. Instead of doom scrolling, I recommend spending time in nature, spending time with loved ones, taking part in hobbies that you enjoy. Take a social media break if you notice yourself getting radicalized. Because oftentimes just having that space between you and the beliefs that are being fed to you is enough to sort of just make you wonder, to sort of just take a step back and come back a little bit more detached with a little bit refreshed of an ability to think critically. In conclusion, understand that it is human nature to want to be validated, and it feels awful to talk to someone who doesn't entirely validate your feelings. But sometimes you gotta put collective well-being over your individual comfort. Fact check everything, including context. Listen to a variety of perspectives, including those you disagree with. Check a source's bias. Retrain your algorithm. Be aware of emotional manipulations. Have conversations with people you disagree with. Stop parroting what you heard someone else saying, and get off the internet. Thank you. Tell me